Hey everyone, how y'all doing today and welcome back to another meta guide. So tomorrow, the Keller Cup is beginning. So fire, water, grass, and electric types are going to be eligible. It is in the Great League. It's a Great League meta. We've had the Keller Cup before. I don't remember if I liked it. I don't really remember much about the cup. I just remember that we had it before. So obviously we have some new toys to play with compared to the previous time anyway, because of all the buffs last season. But let's go ahead and dive right into it and see what we got going on for us. So for the S rank, we got the Toxapex in the lead. You know, Toxapex is interesting. It's a really good Pokemon, but it's mainly good because of its bulk. Like, Poison Jab and Sludge Wave, okay, those are good moves. Brine is a terrible move, right? Which is one of the reasons I'm not the biggest fan of Toxapex. Like, if it got Surf, for example, it would just be better. But maybe it would be a little bit too good, so maybe they shouldn't give it another move. But, yeah, Brine is just not a good move. At least as of right now, who knows if they'll buff it. They probably shouldn't, again, because Toxapex would become that much better. But yeah, no, it's a really good Pokemon, and it just can withstand plenty of hits. We've seen this time and time again in the Open Great League, right? So it's just a fantastic Pokemon. Even though it's stuck with Brine, it's still a fantastic Pokemon. And then we have Alolan Marowak or the Shadow version. I personally would go with the Shadow one if you're running it. I just like it. If you don't have the Shadow, I think the regular one is just fine as well. But yeah, I mean, Alolan Marowak, it did get the buff last season with Fire Spin as well as Bone Club, but it's still not a Pokemon that's really meta relevant in like the Open Great League, right? We might see it here or there, but it's very, very rare. I feel like it's more so, it more so dominates in limited metas like the Keller Cup. But especially in this meta when there's a lot of grass types, right? We do have a lot of grass types. You know, we can see them on the screen. Jumpluff, Abomasnow. We got Tropius. We got even Charjabug, which is a bug type. Amoonguss, I guess. So a lot of things that are weak to fire. So Alolan Marowak will do well. It also has that ground coverage with Bone Club, which is a good move now. And then it has Shadow Bone as well. That is a legacy move. Keep that in mind. But I do like Shadow Bone over Shadow Ball, so I would go with it. I just think it's really good for Alolan Marowak. But yeah, so that is Alolan Marowak. I think that will be really good and really relevant in this meta. And then we have Quillfish. Quillfish is a fantastic safe swap. I love this Pokemon. Like, even in the Open Great League, I don't use it a lot. I don't battle it a lot. But whenever I do, it's always a lot of fun to use. I always use it as a safe swap. I think it's just such a fun Pokemon to use. And I think it's going to do really well here. It does have great coverage. You definitely want the Aqua Tail. The other move could really depend on your team. Sludge Wave is good for the grass types. Ice Beam, I guess, is also good for grass types. I guess you go with Ice Beam, but no, it's a fantastic Pokemon in this meta, and I can't wait to use it. And then we have Jumpluff, or the Shadow version of Jumpluff. Yeah, one of the grass types, one of the many grass types that we'll probably see in this meta. Yeah, I mean, we've seen, ever since it got the Fairy Wind buff, we've seen this a lot in the Open Great League, right? Maybe not the most dominating flying type, I guess, or even grass type, but we still see it a decent amount, and it's definitely going to do well in the Color Cup. Then we have Abomasnow, which is an ice and grass type. So, yeah, I mean, if you're going with the Shadow one, I'd probably go with the Weather Ball, but if you're going with the regular one, I like the Icy one because you have more bulk. But again, it also, I guess, depends on your team as well. And then we have Gastrodon. Gastrodon, that Mud Slap buff last season helped out Gastrodon so much. This is my favorite Mud Boy, and it's my favorite Mud Slapper in general. And it's just such a good Pokemon. I love using it for the Great and Ultra League. It's really good in limited metas as well. I love Gastrodon. I love Gastrodon. Just absolutely fantastic Pokemon to use, right? Moving on to the A rank, we do have Zapdos. Okay, so Zapdos, or the Shadow version of Zapdos, should do pretty well. I mean, Thundershock did get the buff this season, and it also gets the Drill Peck really fast, and then it also has Thunderbolt, so Drill Peck also a great bait move as well, and Thunderbolt hits like an absolute truck. It's just it really can't take hits well, but Zapdos, but it is going to be cool to see. Probably decent as a safe swap, I would say, because then you're going to get a hit on energy. And then we have Quagsire. So Quagsire, if we're talking about the Mudshot users, like Mud Boys, like, yes, Gastrodon is better, but as the Mudshot users, I think Quagsire is definitely the one that dominates over Wishcash, over Swampert, right? Even though it does take longer to get to the moves, it still spams out the Aqua Tails, it spams out even Stone Edge, you know, it's just, yeah, really strong, really strong. And then we have Emolga. Emolga is going to be pretty good with the Thundershock Acrobatics. I believe that's the move. Is it Discharge as well? I think it is. But yeah, I mean, Another electric type that I'm sure we'll see plenty of. And then we have a couple Incinerate users. I have Turtonator and I also have Talonflame on this list. So if you don't want to run a Alolan Marowak, maybe you don't have the Shadow version, you want Incinerate or something, we have two good Incinerate users. I mean, Incinerate is just definitely a powerful move, right? And then Stunfisk, of course. Stunfisk also receiving the buff to Thundershock this season, but it's just going to do well against the Toxapex, the Alolan Marowak. You know, it's the Corphish, right? Because you have super effective damage there, although they have super effective damage towards you as well. There's some Pokemon, of course, you're not going to want to see, like the Gastrodon or Grass types, but if you don't battle them, then you're looking pretty good. Moving on to the B rank, we do have Charjabug leading things off. So Charjabug, with that Volt Switch damage, I don't know, ever since last season, we haven't seen Charjabug a lot. It wasn't directly nerfed, right? But I guess, I mean, they buffed a lot of things. I mean, Diggersby was technically buffed this season, but it was also relevant last season. Clodsire wasn't even buffed. I'm talking the Open Great League, but it just like became super meta relevant. Actually, it was buffed because of Poison Sting, but I don't think that's why it became super meta relevant. That's probably why we don't see Charjabug that often. Anyway, this is a different meta. We don't have Clodsire a lot, or we don't have Clodsire at all in this meta, right? Yeah, I know Volt Switch X is a Discharge, fantastic moveset. You could go with Crunch if you want to, maybe to hit like the Alolan Marowak as a surprise factor. That could be pretty good. And then we have Morpeko. So Morpeko, the thing about this Pokemon is it's really glassy, but it does get to the moves really fast, right? So I think it will be really good. I had to take a sip of my coffee here. But no, I mean, Morpeko's always a lot of fun to use. I really enjoy using this one. And then we have Amoonguss. So Amoonguss, I think, is going to be a pretty good safe swap. It is weak to fire, but if their fire type is Alolan Marowak, at least you have super effective Astonish damage, right? Because Amoonguss has Astonish as the fast move. So they'll have super effective damage towards you, but you'll also have super effective damage towards them. I don't know who wins that matchup. I didn't like do sims or look it up or anything. But at least you'll lower up the fire type and you'll be doing super effective damage. Now, if they have an Incinerate user like Talonflame or Turtonator, that's a different story. But, you know, I'm just saying. I think Amoonguss will do pretty well as a good safe swap in this meta. And then we have Credilli. So Credilli is a grass type, but it's not weak to fire because it's also a rock type. So it's going to be pretty solid in this meta for that reason. Salazzle. Okay, Salazzle. I wonder if I put this too far up the list, to be honest. Maybe I should put it in the other options. But Salazzle is another Incinerate user, and it does have Poison Jab, so it's going to absolutely dominate grass types, right? No, I guess Salazzle is actually going to be pretty good, pretty fun to use. It's just really glassy. That's the big thing about it. Then we have Tropius. I like the, especially in this meta, the Air Slash version of Tropius. That's the moveset I would definitely recommend. So many Pokemon are going to resist Razor Leaf. And you're going to dominate, like, for example, Gastrodon anyway, because you wall all of Gastrodon's energy, besides Body Slam, I guess, but you could still take those easily, so Tropius will still destroy Gastrodon, no matter what moveset it has. And then we have Hisuian Electro. This is a fun Pokemon, because it has Thundershock, so it does get to the moves fast, and it did get the buff this season. Even though it's a little bit of a buff, it still is a buff. And then it has Wild Charge, and I think the Grass attack, is it Energy Ball, or is it Grass Knot? I think it's Energy Ball. And yeah, I think this Pokemon could be used as a really good safe swap as well. Get ahead on energy, and then Wild Charge is going to hit like a truck. Energy Ball as well, it's going to do well. So I think it's going to be a fantastic pick for this meta. Moving on to the other options, we do have Magmar. Magmar could be interesting with the Karate Chop. I don't think it's going to see a lot of play, but could be pretty interesting. It could be a fun pick. I mean, it's not really going to be super relevant. I don't think you'll see it a lot. We have a few grass types. We have Leafani. Of course, Leafani did have the Community Day Shadow Claw added to its move pool, so it is better, and probably the only reason it's in the other options. Definitely the only reason, right? Then we have Ferrothorn, and then we have Superior as well. More grass types. Ferrothorn is going to be double weak to fire, so something to keep in mind. So is Abomasnow, though, and I think Abomasnow is going to be really good in this meta. Then we have Decidueye, another grass type as well. Galiciopod could be a fun safe swap, right? Because you are a water and bug type, so you're not weak to fire. You are weak to electric, but you know, Shadow Claw gets to the liquidations pretty fast. And you probably want Aerial Ace in this meta over X-Scissor. Then we have Skeledirge, so another Incinerate user. Trevenant, Wishcash. So yeah, I mean, if you go into the Mudboy, you probably want to go with Shadow Quagsire, but Wishcash is another option, if you will. For alligator being in the other option section might seem crazy, but the thing is, like, there's a lot of grass types. So it's just something you have to keep in mind. For alligator can also do well, obviously, right? It's going to do well against like the Alolan Mawak, for example, or fire types in general. So, but it does have to watch out for all the electric types and all the grass types. That's why I put it here. We have Lurantis. Lurantis could be a lot of fun, and then another Incinerate user, Typhlosion. Moving on to the solid team options. So for the first team, I put Double Fire with Turtonator and Alolan Mawak. I put Gastrodon in the lead. If you want to, you could go with Talonflame over one of these fire types. The reason I suggest that is because this team is pretty weak to Gastrodon, right? Gastrodon obviously is neutral towards Gastrodon, but the back line is going to be weak to Mudslap. So at least Talonflame is not going to be weak to Mudslap. It's going to actually resist it. So you could, if you want, go with Talonflame instead of one of these fire types over that, and that could be pretty good. I think Gastrodon will be pretty common, so just something to keep in mind. Another team we have is Double Electric. I put Emolga and Stunfisk with Abomasnow in the lead. So, I mean, the backline, Stunfisk is weak to, like, Gastrodon. Emolga is not because it's a flying type as well, so it's going to resist the damage. And then Abomasnow, of course, does well against Gastrodon. And again, Emolga, yeah, Stunfisk is going to be weak to grass, but Abomasnow and Emolga will do well. So I think this team could actually do really well in this meta. Yeah, so I'm personally I'm going to want to try this team. We do have other electric types like Zapdos you could try or something, but I think I'm actually going to try this team. And whether or not you want the Shadow Abomasnow or not is kind of up to you, I think. But as I mentioned earlier, if you're going with the Shadow one, you probably go with Weather Ball. But if you're going with the regular one, Icy Wind, I would probably go with. But it's totally up to you. And then next up, we're going to move on to Quagsire, Amoonguss, and Quillfish. So I think both of the Pokemon in the back are going to be function as pretty good safe swaps. Especially that Amoonguss, I'd probably use that as a safe swap if you have a bad lead. But yeah, I mean, you have to wait and see. But could be a pretty cool team to use. And then next up, we have Toxapex in the lead with Hisuian Electrode, and then Gastrodon, Electrode, a Pokemon I do think will be a pretty good safe swap. Yes, it is weak to fire, and the opponent could have fire types in the back, obviously, right? But still, I mean, if you get ahead on energy, obviously they have to shield with, like, I mean, they don't have to, but like you're still going to want to shield, like, a Wild Charge into, like, an Alolan Mawak. It would do a lot of damage, right? So, yeah, something to keep in mind. The team doesn't really like Alolan Mawak. I mean, because the thing is, like, Gastrodon does great against it, but Electrode obviously is weak to it, and then Toxapex is weak to the Bone Club. It's not weak to Alolan Mawak's, like, fast moves, like Fire Spin, right? But your Poison Jab is resisted, so something to keep in mind there. It's still going to be a little bit difficult to take out the Mawak if it's in the lead, but if Gastrodon gets on it, obviously that's a good situation. Next up, we have Gastrodon in the lead with Double Grass. Now, the thing I like about this Double Grass team is that Credilli is not weak to fire. The Electrode is, but Credilli is not. So I think Credilli will function as a great safe swap, because if they respond with a fire type, you have super effective Rock Slide or Stone Edge damage, and you're not weak to the fire attacks, right? Now, do you want Stone Edge? Do you want Rock Slide? Rock Slide is a little bit cheaper, but it was nerfed a couple times, right? So it's really, really up to you. I probably would go with Rock Slide, to be honest, but Stone Edge I could see working as well. And then next up, we do have Jumpluff in the lead, or the Shadow version of Jumpluff with Alolan Mawak and Quagsire. You could go triple Shadow with this team. This is an ABC team, essentially, right? You've got Grass, Fire, and Water. So let's see how that team works. But anyway, let me know what you think of these teams. Let me know what team you plan on trying out in the Color Cup, and are you going to be playing this meta? And I will see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day. Bye.